Do you guys know where we are right now? You know what borough we're in? Still in Brooklyn, exactly. So, and then on the other side of the water right here is Queens. And in between Brooklyn and Queens is Newtown Creek, the water that we're going to travel on. Newtown Creek is connected to the East River that connects to the Atlantic Ocean. This water here is what you would call brackish, which is a mixture of salt and fresh water. We're really kind of in the geographic center of New York City here. To talk about the creek, it's really important to talk about a lot of the history that's here. As we go out on the water, you'll see it's a very industrial landscape, and throughout time through the 1800s, when New York City began to grow and industrialize, Newtown Creek became one of the homes of sort of maritime industry, which is because everything back then in the 1800s was basically moved by ships, which is also one of the reasons that New York City became such a huge city in the United States, because it had great access to all the waterways. As New York City began to develop with all this industrial stuff, a lot of sort of unpleasant industries began to conquer the shores of Newtown Creek. The creek is essentially a canal now, but what it was originally was a big marshland. As industry moved in, they started transforming the landscape. We lost a lot of that natural sort of marsh habitat. So there was kerosene production, there was whale oil, which was used as lamp oil back in the 1800s, and then J.D. Rockefeller and Standard Oil really got one of their big starts on Newtown Creek. So at one point, there was about 50 different oil refineries in the late 1800s, early 1900s that lined the shores. In 1900 or so, there wasn't really any environmental oversight. So a lot of these companies had byproducts, and they basically just dumped them into the creek. The sediment, the soil that's at the bottom of the creek, is the real cause of concern here. So because all those industries were dumping stuff into the water, a lot of it settled into the bottom there. And so you have all these heavy concentrations of chemicals that are in the bottom of the creek. So it's sort of the largest designation you can get for a polluted area, and that means the federal government will oversee a cleanup. They identify responsible parties, which are basically the people that put the pollution there. So they've identified 6 responsible parties for Newtown Creek, including the city of New York, and those are major corporations like ExxonMobil, BP Oil, National Grid. Basically, they're going to be responsible for footing the bill of the cleanup. Despite all this history of pollution and this lost, rich ecosystem that we've had, it's in some ways a hopeful story, because the creek has really kind of hit its lowest point. We've seen, the ecosystem slowly recover. So every year, we're seeing more animals come back, birds and fish and stuff like that. So in some ways, even though it's a polluted environment, it is, on this kind of slow recovery up. So that's one of the things I think is kind of exciting to see.